This story doesn't start with paperwork. It starts with a house built on silence. For years, sister wives didn't just show us marriages breaking, it showed a financial machine quietly shifting weight. Homes moving, names changing, losses absorbed by some, while others stayed protected. On the surface, viewers saw chaos. Behind the scenes, there was structure. Then one phrase detonated across the internet: notice served. Not an arrest, not a lawsuit, just enough legal language to trigger panic, because fans know this family's history. And here's the pattern most people missed. Every time the system tightened, the fallout wasn't shared evenly. Some spouses lost stability, some lost homes, some lost voice, and one position consistently remained insulated. That's not random. That's design. Because in families where money, control, and legacy overlap, paperwork doesn't signal drama, it signals leverage. And leverage decides who pays the price, and who walks away intact. Tonight, we're not chasing rumors. We're tracing a structure. Who benefited? Who absorbed the damage? And why a single word, notice, hit harder than any headline. Stay with this investigation. Watch to the end, because the receipts, the timelines, and the public records tell a very different story than what viewers were shown. Why this rumor landed so hard. To understand why the phrase, notice served, carried weight, you have to understand context. For years, viewers of Sister Wives watched a family operate as both a household and a financial unit. Multiple homes, shared debts, joint decisions, often without joint clarity. By the time Robyn entered the family, the Browns were no longer just navigating relationships. They were navigating mortgages, business entities, and long-term financial exposure. That matters, because when fans hear official papers, they don't hear paperwork. They hear consequence. And history has taught them to listen for it. What is actually being claimed? Let's be precise. There has been no publicly confirmed court filing naming Robyn Brown as a respondent in a new civil or criminal case. There has been no verified lien, seizure, or freeze notice released by any county recorder or court system. What has circulated are second-hand claims suggesting documents were served, assets were flagged, or that a financial review may be underway. None of those claims, as of now, are supported by primary documentation. That distinction matters, because in legal terms, notice can mean many things, and most of them are routine. What a notice usually means in real life. In U.S. civil law, a notice can be a request for information, a procedural disclosure, a tax-related communication, a refinancing disclosure, a civil demand letter, or simply a required acknowledgement. In most cases, it does not mean wrongdoing. It does not mean guilt. And it does not mean assets are frozen. Asset holds require specific legal thresholds, court orders, judgments, or statutory authority. None of those have been publicly identified here. So why does the rumor persist? Because of what fans remember. The family's financial track record. This family has a documented history of complex finances. Multiple properties across states. Frequent relocations. Shifting ownership structures. Business entities tied to family branding. Public records over the years have shown refinanced homes, property transfers, and mortgages taken out under different configurations. None of that is illegal. But it does create complexity. And complexity breeds suspicion, especially when transparency has been uneven. Robyn's unique position. Robyn has often been portrayed, fairly or unfairly, as the most financially protected spouse. Viewers have noted stability in housing, proximity to decision-making, and perceived insulation during periods when others faced loss. These perceptions are not legal facts, but they shape audience reaction. So when her name is linked, however vaguely, to official papers, fans don't start from zero. They start from a narrative they've been building for years. Fan reaction: why the internet moved fast. On Reddit, Facebook groups, and YouTube comment sections, reactions followed a familiar pattern. First, alarm. Then, theory. Then, certainty, without evidence. Comments ranged from cautious to absolute. If assets are involved, this explains past behavior. This was inevitable after everything that happened. They've been hiding something. But for every claim, there was also pushback. Show the paperwork. Stop turning rumors into facts. This family has been speculated about for years. The community is divided, not on emotion, but on proof. What verified sources have actually said? To date, no law enforcement agency has issued a statement. No court docket publicly reflects a new action. No tax authority has released enforcement notice. TLC, historically, does not comment on private legal matters unless directly tied to production. That silence is not confirmation. It's standard practice. Episode callbacks: why this feels familiar. Longtime viewers may recall earlier seasons where financial stress appeared suddenly, decisions were made under pressure, and explanations came later, or not at all. There were moments when moves were rushed, property plans shifted, and trust eroded quietly. This rumor fits into that emotional memory, even if it does not fit into documented reality. The danger of assumption. There is a real cost to assuming guilt. Public speculation can affect reputations, distort timelines, and create narratives that never resolve. Once a rumor hardens into belief, corrections rarely travel as far as accusations. That's why responsible analysis separates what is known from what is suspected, from what is imagined. What would confirm this, if it were real? If assets were truly on hold, there would be a recorded lien, a court order, or a publicly accessible filing. Those records are searchable, and so far, none have surfaced. That absence is meaningful. Long-term implications, even without a case. Even unfounded rumors reveal something important. They reveal how fragile trust has become between the family and the audience, the narrative and the facts, and memory and evidence. For reality television families, perception is currency. And once perception shifts, it rarely resets. A measured conclusion. So where does that leave us? With restraint, with context, and with a reminder that not every document is a downfall, and not every silence is a confession. Until verifiable records emerge, this story remains exactly what it is right now. A rumor, amplified by history, emotion, and unresolved questions. And sometimes, the most responsible conclusion is the hardest one to accept. That nothing, at least not yet, has actually happened. Most legal rumors do not begin with documents. They begin with interpretation. A line overheard in an episode. A vague reference during a livestream. A comment that sounds official, but carries no source. In online communities, interpretation spreads faster than verification. One person frames a possibility. Another repeats it as concern. A third restates it as fact. By the time it reaches a wider audience, the original uncertainty is gone. What remains is confidence, unsupported, but emotionally persuasive. For long-running reality TV families, this process is accelerated. Viewers feel familiarity. They believe they understand the people involved. And that perceived familiarity lowers the threshold for belief. When legal language enters that space, words like notice, served, or documents, the audience fills in the blanks. Not with evidence, but with memory. The legal system operates on delay. Paperwork moves slowly. Responses are measured. And most actions happen far from public view. Reality television works in the opposite direction. It rewards immediacy. It compresses timelines. It simplifies complex processes into digestible story arcs. When viewers apply reality TV expectations to real legal procedures, distortion occurs. Silence becomes suspicious. Delay becomes confirmation. Routine communication becomes alleged consequence. In reality, many legal notices are procedural, not punitive. But that distinction rarely survives online discussion. Especially when past storylines have trained audiences to expect conflict behind closed doors. Over the years, viewers have seen repeated moments of financial tension. Budgets debated on camera. Moves made under pressure. Plans revised without clear explanation. At the time, these moments were framed as transitional challenges. In hindsight, many fans now reinterpret them as warning signs. But hindsight carries risk. It invites retroactive meaning, assigning intention where there may have been circumstance. Financial complexity does not equal financial misconduct. Yet when complexity remains unexplained, it invites narrative substitution. And narrative, once accepted, becomes difficult to dislodge. In legal analysis, speculation ends where documentation begins. If assets were restricted, there would be a filing, a notice of lien, or a recorded court action. These records are public by design. Their absence does not prove nothing happened. But it strongly suggests nothing formal has occurred. This distinction is often lost in online discourse. Rumor is treated as evidence. Repetition as validation. But legal reality does not operate on consensus. It operates on record. And at present, no such record has surfaced. Even without confirmation, rumors carry consequences. They reshape public perception. They harden character judgments. They influence how past actions are interpreted. For individuals in the public eye, the damage does not wait for proof. It begins at accusation. In reality television, that damage is magnified. Because audiences feel emotionally invested. Once a narrative takes hold, factual correction rarely receives equal attention. And over time, rumor becomes remembered history. This story persists because it speaks to unresolved questions. Questions about control, about fairness, about who benefited when others lost. These are not legal questions. They are emotional ones. And until the audience feels those questions have been addressed, similar rumors will continue to emerge. Not because of new evidence, but because of unfinished narratives. If you're here for real analysis, not noise, Like this video, subscribe to stay inside the investigation, and comment below with what you've noticed over the years. Then continue with the linked playlist, because this isn't one incident. It's a system.